Hello, everyone. My name is Megan Kiran, and I am a spiritual creator and Reiki healer. And this is my first video that I really wanted to explain who I am, what I'm about, and why I'm here with you today. Let's backtrack all the way back to my spiritual journey so you can really understand where I came from and how I got to here. So I was raised in a Hindu family. Both of my parents immigrated from India at a young age, and I was born here in the US. Ever since I was young, I was always very exposed to Hinduism, which is also very spiritual religion. So I was very spiritually curious at a young age. Every single family member actually had a meditation room in their house, including my own. So I would always wake up and see my mom meditating every morning. She would meditate for 20, 30 minutes every single day without missing a day. Even if we had to go somewhere super early, she would find a way to meditate in the car, and I didn't understand it, but it was always around, and it was really cool. By the time I was 12 years old, my mom initiated me into meditation. What that meant religiously, I guess at the time, was that I was given a mantra, which is a phrase or something that you can repeat over and over again. I was taught to say this mantra 108 times. And it was really interesting because the way you would count these mantras was on your fingers. So this is opposite for you, but this is my right hand. And these pads in between would be like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, and then I would just do an extra 8. And then this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I would do 1, and I'd keep counting, and then, work myself up. But that was something that I kind of just accepted as part of the routine, and I never really looked into, but I'm sure there's definitely some sort of purpose behind the number 108 in Hinduism. So if you know, please comment below and let me know. Anyways, I was given this mantra, and it probably only took me like 5 minutes every morning, but since I was 12 years old, all the way up through, actually when I left for college, I did this every single morning before school or before whatever I was doing that day. So that kind of, I guess, started my meditation journey. I really started learning how to quiet and control my mind. And little did I know it, I was actually activating my third eye. So it was pretty cool how when I became older, it was so easy for me to feel and experience certain things just because of this practice I started at a young age. So shout out to my mom. Thank you so much for teaching me this because it's been invaluable for me since and for my journey. But besides that, I was just really exposed to Hinduism in general, and I've come to not believe in coincidences. So I know that I was born into this family for a reason. And it's so interesting how Hinduism is not only accepting of other religions, but it's also super spiritual. So I personally am not that religious, but I'm very spiritual. My childhood, I feel like, was a perfect stepping stone into my spiritual journey. And obviously, there's things that happen in life, like my parents got divorced, and there's a lot of other things that I'm not going to speak about, that made me question the higher power. Why are bad things happening to me? I believe in God. I believe in something bigger than this. Why would they allow this to happen? And looking back, it was all perfect. Every single thing that happened to me led me here today. So I would never, ever see those bad or negative things in life as necessarily a bad thing for me because it helped me grow so much. And since then, I really do think that the more people go through in life, the more they're able to level up in a way. So all those experiences in between were definitely a blessing. And by the time I was in college, I was still kind of figuring out myself, obviously going through this whole sort of who am I type thing. I'm in the real world, or I'm about to be. And I started to do a lot of drawings. And it's so interesting looking back at them. It's a reflection of who I was at the time. So a lot of what I draw is, I think, and I know it is channeled from spirit. So at that point in time, there was a lot of confusing colors and like random things, and like my mind at that time was kind of that way too, so it was just definitely a reflection. But then I saw a progression, like I would start drawing eyes. Why would I do that? It was just something I was drawn to. I wasn't even at the point at that time where I was obsessed with third eyes and things like that. So it's really cool looking back to see how my past self was starting to create my future self, which I am today. And so art was kind of definitely a catalyst for my spiritual life throughout my adolescence. And even today, I love art. I still do art. Art is a huge part of who I am and what I do and how I channel messages through spirit and things like that. But another thing that really started to build upon was my altar. So the meditation rooms that my grandparents have and my mom has, there's an altar, there's multiple like platform type things that they have little statues on of different deities and gurus or anything like that. So when I was away one summer for work during college, I decided to create my altar. I wanted it to feel home. I was moving around a lot between school and work and all of these different things that I wanted a constant space for myself. So it started in this like little box, and I went to the store with my grandma and we got a couple little statues and Hindu deities that I connect with. But of course, if you want to make an altar, you can put literally whatever you want. And everywhere I moved since, it's come with me. And now I'm lucky enough to have a 2-bedroom where I'm able to have an office workshop type place, which I also have my altar. So you can see it over here. It's definitely expanded. And now I have a whole platform here too for kind of like extra things and art. So I love it. I am planning to get a house within the next few months, and I am so excited to have a meditation room and really expand my altar even more. So yeah, no, that's super important. And if you're interested in making your own altar, it doesn't have to be religious or any deities that you don't believe in. I also have a picture of my grandpa on here that passed away. I have a bunch of crystals, and I have sage, Palo Santo. I have just a bunch of things that work for me. So again, not religious, but spiritual is how I see these things. And pretty much since then, so my spiritual awakening, I mean, it's obviously a process, but what was really the turning point for me was 2020, which is quite interesting. I actually reconnected with my Reiki teacher around March, April last year, kind of right when all this pandemic started happening. And since then, she has really helped me activate different energy centers, become a good teacher, and become initiated into who I am and my purpose. So my purpose is to be a healer. And when I was, I think sometime when I was home in college, I was driving, and this is the first time it ever happened, but I had an epiphany. And a voice in my head said, "You're a healer." And at that time, I had no idea what that meant. I didn't have any of my Reiki certifications. I was still in the middle of college. I was going for a finance degree. It didn't seem to have anything to do with my life at the time. But backtrack to last year, I worked a lot with my teacher, and I did really find that my purpose is to be a healer. And it's interesting, as we went throughout the year and started to see the impacts of the pandemic and everything happening, I began to look inward. I began to do a lot of shadow work. So for those who don't know what shadow work is, it's just pretty much looking at unhealed and traumatic parts of yourself that need to be cleared out. So essentially, if you don't deal with things when you go through them, they end up sticking in places in your body. So I did this really intense cleanse with my teacher where And there's more than 7 chakras, so it was kind of pretty much going through all my chakras, different energy centers throughout my body. And every single point that she went to, I had an emotion that I kind of kept in there and had to refeel. And it was an array of pain, anxiety, sadness, fear, depression. There were so many feelings that I had to refeel throughout that session and during that kind of period of time. So when I was like, oh, I'm so excited to work with my teacher, become more spiritual, I didn't really realize that a spiritual awakening would include kind of a dark night of the soul sort of experience. And it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work going through that. And it took many, many months until I was able to really feel completely cleansed and ready to not only heal myself, but others. And so I created this platform called the Om Light. And Om is a very important sound and symbol in Hinduism that I think is now introduced to the West. I think a lot of people know about it, but Om is very simply all of the sounds of the universe combined. It's kind of interesting because when people talk, sometimes they say and it's like that natural instinct almost to say Om, that sort of thing. So Om has always been extremely important to me. It's part of my mantra as well that I was taught when I was younger. And light. So at first I created it the Om Life, and then as I evolved, I realized it was light. Because what I do as an energy healer is work with light energy. And as I saw things and understood things evolving last year, I realized that the earth right now is being plummeted with a ton of light. And it took me a while to realize, okay, everything is kind of like collapsing. We're very restricted right now in the world. How does that mean that more light is entering into it? I realized the earth itself is doing shadow work. So all of that kind of gunk is coming out and we're seeing it bubble to the surface. But in the long run, we will feel and we will embody more light as a collective. And so finally, around November, December of 2020, my third eye opened. Now, I've always felt pressure in this area and my crown when I meditate, just because I've been doing it for so long, but I never actually fully was able to see anything or connect with my guides and understand that. So it's almost like the light switch went on, right? And that happened to me at the end of last year. And so, I mean, it's only been a few months since then, but my life has changed tremendously. I have had certain experiences that are literally out of this world. It's so amazing how we search so much externally for things when it's like the whole universe is inside of you. So it's been amazing. It's still a journey for me, but it is my purpose to educate others. It is my purpose to help heal others, and it is my purpose to help heal the collective as a whole. So that is why I'm here. I hope I didn't rant for too long. This is, again, my first video, but I'm so excited, and thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions or things that you want me to talk about, please comment below, and you can find me on Instagram as well if you want, at the Om Light. I'm on Facebook, all of that stuff. So thank you guys so much. Have a beautiful day. Have a beautiful night wherever you are. And I love you, and I'll talk to you soon.